Good, whatever time of day it is with you right now. My name is Iain Explains. This is Politics for Noobs, brought to you by scotspolitics.com. It's early January, so it's time for an obligatory look at what happened last year. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. First up, in no particular order, is the Olympics. In July and August, London was lucky enough to host the warm-up ceremonies for the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games. Scotland did very well in Team GB, winning a total of 13 medals. Although initially sceptical about why we should care about our Scottish athletes competing in Team GB down in London, I think we all kind of got over that quite quickly once the games actually kicked off, and we realised we'd all been a big bunch of sceptical sillybillies. I for one remember thinking,
stop wasting all our time and money.
And by the end I was like, come on Andy! 2012 was also the year that everyone's favourite sentient toupee opened his very own golf course north of Aberdeen. Donald Trump faced a fierce backlash after the documentary You've Been Trumped was shown on the BBC, which exclusively showed that bullying is wrong, even if you're not in school anymore. Several local residents have been deprived of water and have been systematically ignored by the Scottish Government, who have chosen to side with the millionaires in the silly trousers. In the capital, Alex Salmond and David Cameron sat down together on October 15th and worked out the Edinburgh Agreement. Yes, the perpetual politics machine that is the independence question finally has a rough time in which we're all going to get to decide whether or not we all want to go our separate ways. The vote will be held before the end of 2014, which is a year later than the Conservative government would have wanted. It was also decided that 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to vote on this decision, mainly because a lot of them are hard-working, contributing members of society who deserve to get to pick who represents them. Admittedly, some of them are underinformed and might not necessarily be coming from an educated standpoint, but then again, neither am I, and I'm getting a vote, so... We were also treated to the 2012 party conferences, where David Cameron laid down the law and told us what we needed to do if Britain was to survive the global race. Doesn't matter if we don't have an NHS or teachers or any benefits for anyone that needs them, it's just as long as we can look our kids in the eye and say, we want a global race. Yes! Apart from sounding a bit like Phileas Fogg with his global race stuff, he went on to sound a bit like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, going on to say...
Unless we act, unless we take difficult, painful decisions, unless we show determination and imagination, Britain may not be in the future what it has been in the past, because the truth is, we are in the global race today, and that means an hour of reckoning for countries like ours. Sink or swim, do or decline. To take office at such a moment is a duty and an honour, and we will rise to the challenge.
Did I include that just so I could do the Bane voice? It's possible. Cardinal Keith O'Brien blew the lid off the gay marriage conspiracy by revealing that it's actually a bit like slavery and a breach of human rights. Basically, gay marriage would be the thin end of the wedge, and once all these gays got their gay husband or gay wife, that they'd all campaign together so that they could all, marry things like, like a dog, or like the abstract concept of ambiguity. And marrying the abstract concept of ambiguity would be unacceptable because it's a bit like slavery, except, no one's hurt and no one gives a shit. The Stowe College chairman, Mr. Kirk Ramsay, resigned after allegations of secretly recording conversations in meetings about college reform. Education Secretary Mike Russell says he no longer has confidence in Mr. Ramsay after he brought in the teeny tiny little spy pen and wasn't told about it. Mr. Ramsay says he finds the backlash from bringing a standard recording device, not a spy pen, into a meeting for his own personal use, which, by the way, is common practice for people in, college or in places of education, a bit disturbing. The Education Secretary stated that he had no power to demand any individual's resignation. He did, however, have the power to massively pressure Mr. Ramsay into resigning, a man who obviously had never ever put Stowe College first, even though he resigned the second it was embarrassing for Stowe College and made it difficult for, whatever. Finally, the SNP voted to stay in NATO even though they are firmly against the Trident nuclear weapons programme. The controversy came from fears that joining NATO would pressure an independent Scotland into keeping nuclear weapons on Scottish soil, and if not that, then to get Scotland out of an organisation that's very pro-nuclear weapons, like NATO. A fascinating debate that seems to be based along the lines of how much power Scotland can keep when or if it becomes independent. Would an independent Scotland be anti-nuclear weapons, or would it be anti-nuclear weapons in Scotland? Who knows? I mean, we do. It would be anti-nuclear weapons in Scotland. Everyone else can use them just as long as we get a seat at the big table. Great. This has been the Politics for Noobs 2012 year review. If you think there's any important articles or stories that I've missed out, please do comment down below and maybe we'll make a part 2 or something. Go check out scotspolitics.com for more fascinating articles, which unfortunately you will have to read, but they do manage to, overcome that and become quite fascinating anyway. I've been Iain Explains. Cheerio.